how to buy a home in Euless, Texas. That is the only thing on the agenda today. So we're gonna go through every single step imaginable on how to get prepared to buy a home, the real estate, certain real estate to look out for, where to look out for it. We're gonna go into actually filling out a contract, so you see what elements you're going to need to answer for as you're filling out the contract, and so much more. I'm going to show you what to do while you're under contract. So I'm going to break it down into 4 simple things to do, essentially 4 different weeks that while you're under contract, and we're going to go through every single possible thing on there. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the chat. Happy to address them. Let me make sure that the audio is working okay before we take off, because we have a lot of things to cover, and I want to make sure that we're heard. So as you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. It's going to really help distribute this video to everybody that is considering buying in Euless, Texas, because Euless has interesting real estate. Not only is it incredibly well positioned throughout the DFW Metroplex, but it also has an interesting thing when it comes to property taxes, which every single city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex has that. So that's why I'm breaking down every single city, because every one of them is operating different when it comes to, of course, real estate for sure, but also the property taxes, which can make your payments go a little bit crazy. It can go a little bit sideways when you're thinking, hey, I'm going to be paying, let's call it $2,400. All of a sudden it becomes $2,800. It's not so cool. Good evening. What's up, Eli? Good seeing you. What is good? Where's the comment? There you go. What is good? Good seeing you, Eli. So let's begin. No time like the present to get going. Thank you for checking in, Eli. You're one of my favorites. All right, so first things first, let's get the mindset right. Now, I ask our clients all of the time this one question: if it makes sense for you to buy, will you actually do it? Now, this is assuming that the perfect condition exists. That means that you have the money, that you're comfortable spending that money, that the real estate that you found, the home that you found, is ideal for your current needs. If all of that is satisfied, are you going to go through with the purchase? And if the answer is no, hit that like button and get out. No, I'm kidding. If the answer is no, that's okay. But just have that clarity up front, right? So one of the things that I would hate for you is for you to go through all of these emotions, to go through all of this paperwork, go through this entire journey, and at the end of the day, not get that payoff. Oftentimes just really having a good internal reflection on yourself and saying, hey, am I actually going to go through with this purchase, or am I not? Right? So I know some of us, me more specifically, can tend to get a little window shoppy with certain things, whether that's some electronics, whether that's certain things that I'm looking for. And some of us might treat real estate buying, so home buying, the same way. So just, again, if it makes sense for me to buy, will I actually do it? It really, gives you the perfect conditions. If the perfect conditions exist, am I going to go through with it? It really helps flush out a lot of the pressures, the external pressures, especially whether it's because it's expected at your age, whether you just heard somebody purchase and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe I should purchase, even though you had no intention of doing it 12 seconds ago before you heard it. We'll leave it there. Let's talk about the financial assessment. There's 3 main things to look out for when you are making this real estate decision, this real estate move. So keep in mind, again, we're still in the early exploration phase. Let's call this the discovery phase. Simply because you're going through the financial assessment does not mean that you're going to go through and purchase. It just means that you're going through a financial assessment. You are checking and seeing, hey, are the finances right? Are the finances that I'm getting ready to undertake as I'm looking at buying in Euless, does it make sense? So there's 3 main things to look at: ongoing cost, transaction cost, and moving cost. Those are real costs that happen every single transaction. So again, ongoing cost, transaction cost, and moving cost. So let's break these down one by one. Ongoing cost. This is what you're most likely very familiar with, which is the monthly mortgage payment. Are you comfortable making that payment? Now, oftentimes and I'll show you exactly how to break it down, and we're going to go through the exact math as we simulate buying a home in Euless. We're going to look at the real estate in Euless. We're going to actually find a property there, and we're going to put in an offer as if we were going to do this for real. So that way there's no stone left unturned. But oftentimes we're comparing what our rent is, whether you're renting an apartment or a home, and we compare it against our monthly mortgage payment. Well, that's not it. I'm going to rephrase that. That's not all. The ongoing costs go beyond the monthly mortgage payment. There's still maintenance costs. There's still repairs costs. There's still things that you are presently not accounting for today when compared to being a homeowner. So as an example, if the water heater breaks, then that's not your problem. If you're renting an apartment or if you're renting a home, that is your landlord's problem. Well, the moment they become a homeowner, that becomes your problem 100%. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with the additional expenses when it comes to utilities? Are you okay with the additional maintenance? Are you okay with either mowing the lawn yourself or hiring somebody to do so? These are things that you're gonna really want to keep into consideration as you're considering the ongoing costs. So again, this is one of three. So 1, ongoing costs. 2, transaction costs. This is the famous down payment. Do you have enough down payment to purchase a home? Now, if you get the zero down products like a VA loan, if you've been an active member in the military, or if you get a USDA loan, if the home that you're looking at happens to be in a USDA designated area where you're able to get 0% down, well, then congratulations, there's 0% down. But even if that were the case, there's still closing costs. There's still the expense to actually purchase a transaction. So the home, there's title fees, there's lender fees, there's what's called prepaids, where prepaids is you're prepaying in property taxes, you're prepaying in home insurance. So there's an actual money in the bank that you need to have before you can purchase. And again, that's assuming that you don't have that's assuming that you have 0% down. Most of you are going to have at least 3% down. If you get a conventional loan, if you go through an FHA loan, you're going to have not only the 3.5 minimum percent down, but you're also going to have that that funding fee, that FHA funding fee that a lot of people forget about, which I believe is a 1.5%. So factor in whatever down payment you're going to do. Let's just say you're going to do 5% down, whether you're looking at a conventional or an FHA or what have you, but add another minimum 3% down to cover for closing costs. Again, title policy, appraisers, lender fees, the prepays that we just talked about. There's additional expenses that are incurred that you need to be mindful of. That's the transaction cost, right? So again, we're just going through the financial assessment just so you see what it looks like. I want to put it as clearly as possible, because some of us that tend to skew a little bit on the positive side. You're overestimating how much you're underestimating how much money is required to purchase a home. And those of us that tend to the negative side, I'll be honest, I kind of tend that way. Towards the negative side, we just overestimate how much we need, where we're thinking, oh, we need $1 billion. Well, we don't need $1 billion to purchase a home. So it's I'm just giving you the a general ballpark, and then we start digging in a little bit more so you get a clear picture on what it would actually take to buy this home in Euless. Again, we're going to go at the Euless real estate. We're going to look at the homes. We're going to actually simulate a purchase in Euless, Texas, and get into some additional details. Moving costs. So that's the third part of the financial assessment. There is a cost to move out of the house that you're in, carry all of your belongings. So there's that actual cost, the transportation fee, we'll call it, and the cost to get into that home. So when you're moving out of a home, especially if you're renting, well, most likely you want your deposit back. So that means that you're going to have to start painting walls. That means that you're going to have to start doing some things to the property and leaving that property the way that you found it. So it's going to cost some money. So you getting out of that home, out of that property that you're in, out of that apartment, it's going to cost money. For you to move your belongings to that new place, it's also going to cost money, whether you do it by having a friend come over and help you out with that has a truck, or getting a U-Haul. There is an expense to that. There is an expense to moving your belongings from one place to another. Now, when it comes to moving into the home, most of the time there's furnishing the home. Yeah, most of the time you're going to need to buy some couches or some additional furniture, some tables, some chairs, all that fun stuff, right? So there's the furnishing. There's the repairs. So oftentimes you're going to buy a resale, so there's going to be some repairs that go along with that purchase. There's possibly some upgrades. You found the home that you like, but maybe there's something that you wish that was better with the property, so you decide to do the improvement right then and there, right? So those are the expenses. So that's the moving costs, getting out of the home that you're in, moving your belongings, and then actually getting into your home that you are purchasing. So as a quick reminder, if you're finding value And even if you're not, I'm kidding, no, but if you're finding value, hit that like button. That's going to really help get this live stream out to the masses, because we're going to be consistent with these live streams moving forward. Getting pre-qualified. Now, the next step is, I said in my last live stream that I was going to swap the two. So let's just do it right now. Let's swap the two. We'll call this 3 and we'll call this 4. So pretend you never saw that. Now, since this is live, as I'm choking live here, I can't edit that part out. So just pretend this was number 3. So for the longest time, I've been toying around with putting the lender first versus the real estate agent first, going back and forth on that. It's the chicken and the egg situation. But at the end of the day, we're going to pretend that in this case, the chicken is the real estate agent and the egg is the lender. I don't think that makes sense, but we're going to keep going anyway. Finding the right real estate agent happens next. Now, why is that the case? Well, they're going to most likely have a preferred network that you can tap into. They're going to most likely have somebody that you can tap into for a loan. They're going to have somebody that you can tap into. You can tap into for home inspections, for title companies, and all that fun stuff. So a quality real estate agent should be that quarterback that you need to execute the plays. Somebody that can really help you go on and actually win the game. Now, what's very important when it comes to a real estate agent, you need someone that knows the real estate market. You need somebody that can actually that understands timing, that understands what the real estate market is doing or not doing, so you're better positioned when you're making offers. They also need to understand the local real estate market that you're looking to buy in, right? So if somebody that has no idea what McKinney real estate is like, probably should not be advising you on buying a home in McKinney. Well, in this particular case, we're talking about Euless. Same thing. So if you have an agent that is practicing outside of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and says, yeah, I can help you buy a home in Euless, well, you probably need to double check that. Because there are some nuances to Euless specifically that will impact you. One of the more obvious glaring ones is the one that we're going to look into today, which is the property taxes. Property taxes and Euless are different. So you need to be mindful of that, because property taxes are for life. It doesn't matter if you have a mortgage on that property or don't have a mortgage on that property. You're paying property taxes come heck or high water. Be mindful of that. Now, there's something to be said about industry knowledge. There's something to be said about that, but there's also something else to be said about the value that they bring to your transaction, the experience that they have, right? Can they negotiate? Do they have the resources? Do they have that strong network that I just talked about? Oftentimes, real estate agents don't, and well, maybe it's not as obvious. I am a real estate agent, if you haven't figured that out from the entire branding on the YouTube channel. But oftentimes real estate agents just not trying to cast dispersion on my fellow real estate agents, but statistically, half of the real estate agents sell 1 or 0 homes every year. So if you look at the stats from last year, half of the real estate agents out there sold 1 or no homes, and that's crazy. That's wild. Right? So you want to be working with a real estate professional that knows contracts, that knows how to negotiate, that knows how to write a winning offer, because at the end of the day, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that are at stake. And not just talking about just in general, we're talking about your hundreds of thousands of dollars that are at stake. So having a qualified professional to help you is going to be very, very important. And then there's also new agent commission rules that apply here. So it's something that it's a real cost. It's very important that you work with a quality real estate agent that can help you get the transaction done. Now, once you find that right real estate agent, most likely they're going to refer you to a quality lender that they have closed transactions with, and that they know that will be fair with fees, will be fair with the transaction, and are going to be able to get you to the closing table. Because what needs to happen next is you need to get pre-qualified for a loan. Getting pre-qualified for a loan is very simple. You're essentially sharing with a lender your assets, letting them know how much assets you have, letting them know how much debt you have, how much income you're pulling in, and the type of credit score that you're looking for. Those are the 4 elements of getting pre-qualified. Those are the 4 elements that a lender is going to look for. Again, the assets that you have, can you pay for the down payment? The debt that you have, and the income that you have. So here it lets them know, hey, do you have the cash flow to pay the bank back? Do you have a cash flow to actually sustain this loan? And then also the credit. Is there evidence of you paying anybody back with the credit that you have? That's something that's very important. So why is it important that we get pre-qualified? Well, it shows that you're, to your sellers, any potential homeowner out there that you're trying to buy the home from, that you're serious, right? We can say that we're going to buy a Euless home for $500,000 till we're blue in the face, but no homeowner, no seller is going to take you seriously if you don't have something to substantiate that. So you either need to have a bank statement or a letter from your bank saying, hey, this person, they have this amount of money in the bank vouching for you, or you need to have a pre-qualified letter, a pre-qualification letter from a reputable lender that is backing that information up for you. So that's backing up that, hey, this person, Jaime, does have the means to buy this property. If you don't have that pre-qualification letter, no one's going to take you seriously. Now, it also sets a realistic budget. This is actually one of the best things that you can do for your home buying journey, and that's why I try to get to it as quickly as possible. So again, I really had get pre-qualified before getting a real estate agent, but at the end of the day, the real estate agent won out because they're going to be the quarterback and going to really help you execute your strategy. It sets a realistic budget. It lets you know, have clarity of mind. Well, you know, I was looking for homes in the $300,000 mark, but truth be told, I can actually qualify for a little bit more, and I want those homes that are move-in ready in Euless, and I want those homes that have X, Y, and Z in them. So, and those homes typically are about $350,000, right? So it just gives you that peace of mind. It sets a realistic budget that you can use to go out and purchase with confidence. Go out there and search at home for homes with confidence. Now, here's the thing. When you get pre-qualified, the lender's job is to lend. So the lender's job is to put that number as high as possible, right? And they're gonna stretch you. They're gonna get you out there. However, you don't have to take all of it. If you get pre-qualified for $500,000, at least with our clients, what we do is we actually bump it down. And if our clients get qualified for, let's say, $500,000, we automatically, our default is $475,000. Why do we do that? Well, because that's in the most favorable, $500,000 is in the most favorable terms, and that pre-qualification is assuming everything goes right, assuming that everything is, it's going to stay perfect forever. But we like to protect our clients as much as possible. So I encourage you, if you get pre-qualified for a certain amount, go below that. Right? And nobody wants to overspend. It has nothing to do with overspending. It just has more to do with stretching yourself too thin. Right? So if the home is at $500,000 and it has to be that home because you absolutely love it, well, just be mindful. Things do change. Property taxes, more specifically. You're going to hear me say property taxes for 30 more times by the time this is done, because we're talking about Euless. All right, so one quick thing, and then we're going to get into our home buying strategy, which we're going to go into right now. But before we do that, let's get quotes from multiple lenders. The same way that you would get quotes from multiple contractors to work on your fence, well, you can get multiple quotes from lenders. Now, here's the beauty. Whenever you pull your credit, whenever you fill out your first application, which takes about 15 minutes to do while you provide all the information about your assets, the debt that you have, the income that you're pulling in, the credit, all that fun stuff, when that first lender pulls your credit, you have a grace period for a few more weeks where you can pull your credit as often as you want, that it won't affect your credit score as long as you're applying for mortgages, right? So you can go and get 2 additional opinions, 3 additional opinions. You're not going to need more than that, but you can get some additional opinions on your with your lender, where you're going to get different numbers, whether on how much you're approved for, the fees that you could expect, the interest rate. Price these out. So again, most likely the real estate agent that you're working with will advise you on who to go with. Now, for all the resources that we have, just go to dfwhomebuyerclass.com. That's going to really help you set the stage for all the home buying needs that you're ever going to want. There's calculators in there. There's quick ways to search. There's an entire masterclass on how to actually buy that makes it very, very easy for you to purchase at a fraction of the time and saving a ton of money. Let's start talking about the home search. Once we've established, okay, we've gotten pre-qualified, we know what we're after. Once we've established that, it's time to start searching for homes. Now, there's a way to search for homes to where it doesn't stress you out. There's a way to look for homes in Euless specifically so you don't get overwhelmed, so you don't run into traffic every single day. And just it's going to help you out tremendously. But when it comes to the home search strategy, is very, very clear. Number one is have clarity on your must-haves. So I'll say that again, have clarity on your must-haves. Get a list together of the things that your home absolutely needs to have. Does it absolutely need to have a pool? Yes or no? Does it need to have one story, or can it have two? Yes or no? Make a list, max 5. You can't put 100 must-haves because that's not possible. The perfect home doesn't exist. Get clarity on what it is that you absolutely want, that you absolutely need in this particular home. So again, the must-have list, the needs list. Get up to 5. Anything beyond that just becomes a little bit counterintuitive. It's just not going to work. So get yourself that must-have list. Again, the needs. It absolutely needs to have that. If the home that gets sent to you does not have, does not meet one of those 5 items, then you can't go and look at that home. Get that discipline ahead of time so you don't let emotions just take over whenever you're searching for property, especially in a competitive market, because chances are you're going to be submitting offer after offer after offer and not winning. Unless you work with us, because we're on average we get an offer accepted within about 1.8 offers. So in a competitive market right now, we're just getting everything accepted. So there we go. Anyway, make a separate wants list. So once we have our must list, our absolute needs list, let's get our wants list out there. These are things that I would like in a home. I would want this in a home, but I don't need it, right? So this could be a school district. This could be a certain type of flooring. This could be a certain type of kitchen. This could be a certain type of whatever. This is a wants list. This is a bit more flexibility. And here again, don't go over crazy. Don't go at all. Go silly. Do you need 3 beds plus an office, or can you go 4 beds that you can convert into an office? Right? This is that type of flexibility that we're talking about. So get that separate wants list and get this ahead of time. Again, don't let emotions get ahead of you. Don't let emotions really suck you into the purchase, because the last thing that I want for you is what a lot of buyers experience, especially during a very heated real estate market, is buyer's remorse, right? So at some point you just want a house, right? Because either we run out of time with our lease, or we're relocating for that future job or that job that we're going into, and we just run out of time. And then we just end up with a home that we don't even like. Okay? And I'll be honest, this home that I'm in right now, I gave myself a week to find it because I needed to solve for a problem, which is to be closer to my family for the things that I needed to do. I'm not in love with this home, but I also recognize that this home had just what I needed, which is proximity to the family, which is about 5 minutes away, as opposed to 40 minutes away. This just served the purpose. This home, I'll probably be out of it within a year. But it was just, again, I knew what I wanted it for. It serves a purpose for now, and we're going to keep it moving. Same thing for you. Now, once you have that clarity, it's so much easier for you and so much easier for your real estate agent, whoever you happen to be working with. Hopefully it's us, but if it's not, that's okay. You set up safe searches. You are probably going to have your safe searches on Zillow. That's where most people go to because it does have a fantastic interface. But your real estate agent's going to set you up from the sources. They're going to set you up from the MLS, and they're going to send you properties based off of what you give them. So the more information that you give them, the better. Now, make note, you can't just say, I want to buy a house in Dallas under $500,000. You can't do that because they're going to send you 5,000 listings. That's not a thing. So here in Euless, you're going to see how many homes are available for sale right now. So you need to be a little bit clearer than just have paint with a broad stroke. So that's why I have clarity on your must-have list and your wants list. It's going to help you and your real estate agent get to that perfect home a lot quicker. Now, once you start getting listings in your inbox, please vet them out. The moment that a property hits your inbox, don't go out and jump into the car and go and look at that property. That is a waste of time for you and your real estate agent. Vet the listings out. Make sure that it has what you're looking for. Now, one of the things that I like to share as an example is there's no button on the MLS that says open concept. That button does not exist. So if you're looking for open concept kitchens, well, you need to look at the pictures themselves and see, hey, is this kitchen open concept? right? So the last thing you want to do is just go to the property, go to that property after work or while you're on your break and all that fun stuff, and you're spending all this time and energy and effort to get into that home only to find out, dang, it doesn't have what I need. Vet these listings out before you go and see these homes. It saves you hours. Think about it, like commuting there, looking at the property, commuting back, it saves you hours of needless searching. So vet these listings before you actually schedule showings. Your real estate agent should be very mindful of this and should be able to help you do this. A lot of real estate agents, they just they shoot first, ask questions later. So like, you want to see that home? Let's go see it. A lot of people don't care. A lot of agents don't value their time, and also really don't care as long as you put them you go into a contract. So for them, they're going to show you a home and put you into the home, and buyer's remorse is not going to be as big on their hierarchy of needs from the real estate agent side. As long as the commission check cashes, it's all that matters. I'm not saying us. We have a little bit more integrity than that, I'd like to think, but many real estate agents don't. Why? Well, because you heard the statistic earlier. A lot of agents are struggling to just keep food on the table, right? So they'll do what they need to do. Drive the neighborhood during commute times. This is one of the best things that you could do whenever you're searching for property, especially in an area that you don't know. So let's just say you are looking to buy in Euless, but you've lived in Fort Worth your entire life. Sure, you've crossed through Euless on your way to Dallas or on the way up to McKinney. Sure, you've crossed through Euless, so you've been through the parking lot that is 183. Who hasn't? But there's another thing to be said when you are getting off of work and now going home. So you may be living and working in Fort Worth. You're used to that commute. Well, what you want to do once you start considering Euless a little bit more and are a bit more serious about that, well, after work, if you're working in Fort Worth, go ahead and drive on over to Euless and take a dinner there, or just go to Starbucks or go do something, but basically go to the neighborhood that you're looking to purchase in. Super helpful. So do that after work, because why? Well, most likely if you end up going and purchasing a home in Euless, you're going to be making that drive anyway. Feel it out first. Same thing on the weekends. Well, on the weekends, the exact same thing. Go out there and enjoy it. Go out there and do life there. Go out there and see what it looks like. Feel it, right? Try to do the mornings, try to do the try to do the afternoons, try to do the evening. So I'll give you an example. There's so many examples, so I'm going to try to keep it pretty compact. So a young couple that was in the northeast of Dallas. They were considering buying a home, but they were all over the board. They were thinking Princeton, they were thinking Forney, they were thinking Crowley, they were thinking North Fort Worth. So what did I do? Well, we sent them on a journey. So hey, go spend this following weekend in Princeton. Here's a gift card to go and have some lunch up there. In the weekends, go and see what Forney has to offer for you. Can you do life there? Go hang out in Crowley for a little bit. So go after work, see what that's going to feel like. Go after work over to Fort Worth and see what the Alliance area looks like. So do that homework ahead of time. It's going to save you so much time and energy, and it's going to make it more pleasant. But more importantly, even if we're factoring time out of this, more importantly, it's going to help you avoid buyer's remorse. It's going to really help you avoid that, because the last thing that you want is to be driving home for the first time to your new home only to think, oh my gosh, I had no idea it takes me 2 hours to get home. This sucks. And believe me, that happens a lot. All right, so let's go and apply some of these strategies in here. We've been talking about Euless, so let's actually get into some Euless real estate and see what that's about. Let's see what's going on in Euless and start doing some calculations around Euless property taxes, real estate, and everything in between. So there's 138 properties available for sale in Euless right now, averaging at $412,000. Now, this includes condos, this includes commercial, this includes all of those different types of real estate. So what we're going to do is we're going to back out single family, and we're going to just hit the search button. Right now, we just want to see the amount of properties we have available for sale. Right now, there's 82 properties available for sale in Euless. Could one of these be yours? Right? So you see the least expensive home right now in Euless at the moment is $224,000. Now, for those of you that don't know where Euless is, let's back out for a quick second. Don't want to assume anything here. Let's back out for a quick second and see how close to the central part of the DFW Metroplex Euless is. You want to cast the airport? Well, in fact, part of it is Terminal F, well, Future F, because they're just building Terminal Future F is basically in Euless, so you could be neighbors to your terminal. But anyway, DFW Airport is right there. You're right smack into it. You have no excuses for being late to your gate again. With that being said, you have the rest of the arteries to go to the north part of DFW via 121, or just take up George Bush Turnpike right here and get up to the north part of DFW, get to Dallas through that parking lot that I mentioned, 183, and then same thing over here in Fort Worth via 183 and 121. So as far as location is concerned, you can see why Euless is so coveted, why it's so in demand, because it's just, as far as real estate is concerned, as far as location is concerned, it's hard to beat. All right, so let's see again, 82 properties for sale right now. $224,000 is the least expensive home, which, if we're going to be honest, is probably going to require a little bit of updating in order for this to work, because then you see a quick jump to the 250s. And really, if you have the budget, let me rephrase that, if you have a pre-approval up to $300,000, you're going to have some options. You're not going to have the most options, but you are going to have some options if you're looking at Euless. So let's just see what type of options we're talking about. I like to break it down in price points so you see the type of homes that are available for sale right now and where they happen to be. So here you have a good mixture of north part of north of 183 in the Hardwood area, and then south of 183. You see the homes that are available for sale right now. Now, what you're also going to start seeing here as the price point starts getting into the high 300s and low 400s is homes that have already been updated, that have already had some renovations done to them. So I can see that this is already a renovated home. Why? Well, because that wood look is in right now, and also they have a brand new fence out there along with some fresh mulch, and probably they took down some trees to make this happen. With that being said, what you're going to start noticing is that there's single car garages that have been converted into an actual room, because this was actually a garage before it got converted. It got sealed off and made the home a little bit larger. All right, so let's see here. Now let's assume where you're going to find most of your options is going to be between the $300,000 and $500,000 mark. That's where you're going to find most of the real estate available for sale in Euless. So about half of the inventory is within this price point, $300,000 to $500,000. And as you start seeing more and more of these homes, you're going to see more of the renovated homes. Right there is an updated home. It's been flipped. Same thing with this one. It has an investor touch all throughout the home. So if you have the budget of up to $500,000 and want to be in a central location with a really high quality build, Euless might be. Oh, this one's beautiful actually. Euless might be the Euless will be the trick. Now you're not going to find new construction, but what you're going to find are renovated homes. You're going to find homes like this that have been gutted and have been painted and really made modern to fit your specific needs. But to cap off the rest of the price points, again, we had 80 something properties in the search. There should be about 30, right? Oh no, 17. You're going to see that most of this expensive real estate is going to be up here. As you start reaching, well, I guess closer into 360, there's a community out here that is it's pretty nice. I like it. Right in through here through Bear Creek area. And now if you start looking at these homes right here, they are some insanely awesome homes that were recently built. A lot of these are newer build. Like right here, if you've been following 360 like I have been since 2000 basically, you saw this turn into just basically great trees, and you see some high price apartments. You see some more luxury looking real estate. You've seen a big transformation here, where before there was just more of an industrial look with all these in Spanish they call them cementeras, but concrete, what do you call them, concrete plants? right? Concrete mixers. I don't know. I don't know how to say it in English. Oh, check that one out. That one's a beautiful house. Beautiful house right there. And the most expensive home for sale right now in Euless is $850,000, right? So just shy of 4,000 square feet. Cool. But let's do this. Let's check this out. Let's start calculating what the cost is going to be, because that's one of the questions that I get all of the time on what is going to be my expense. What is my monthly mortgage payment? I'm going to show you how to calculate that, which gives me an opportunity to talk about property taxes, which is something that I've alluded to since the beginning of the video that is extremely important. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend we're going to buy a home. Let's pretend we're going to buy this $399 home. Let's look at the details. All right, so this home right here, it has a price reduction. By the way, right now you're seeing more price reductions than, you're seeing 5 times more price reductions than price increases. So if you're looking to buy, holler. All right, so let's look at this. So taxes, this is something that we're going to compare it once we have the number calculated for property taxes itself. So let's get into this. All right, for us to calculate the monthly mortgage payment, we're going to go to Bankrate. Just go to Bankrate, type into Google Bankrate and mortgage calculator, and you're going to be able to calculate this yourself. It's going to be a very simple calculation. I'm going to walk you right through this so you have the exact number that you can expect to pay. Whenever we do these breakdowns for our clients, we're off by like $2. Like, it's really dialed in. So check this out. So let's say we're going to buy this home for $399,000. Let's say $400,000, just for the sake of this example. It's going to be even. Let's say we're going to offer $1,000 more for this property. So we're going to offer $400,000. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put 20% down. Could we do less? For sure. But let's talk about why. I just want to keep the numbers very, very simple, very straightforward. You can introduce some additional variables as you do your own calculations. But for our purposes today, let's assume we're going to put 20% down. Now, why is 20% down so common, or why is it brought up quite a bit? Because so much so that people think that you need 20% down to purchase a home. Well, you don't need 20% down. That's not a thing. If you do less than 20% down, you're going to be paying what's called mortgage insurance. So when you are purchasing a home, in order for you to avoid that mortgage insurance, you need to put at least 20% down. Now, what is mortgage insurance? Mortgage insurance is an insurance that the lender takes out on you in the event that you default. Why? So they can preserve as much of their risk as possible. Avoid as much risk as possible. So you're going to be paying an additional premium, typically about 0.5 to 1% more in mortgage insurance per month. So yes, it's going to be more expensive. Your monthly mortgage payment is going to go higher, not just because you're borrowing more because you put less percent down, but also because the cost to finance yourself is going to be more altogether. So that's if you put less than 20% down. So that's that's the only reason that we're putting 20% down, just so you see this number without that mortgage insurance. Now, you can introduce the mortgage insurance, and I'll show you about what number to put here so it makes sense for you. But let's continue. Most of the loans here are going to be 30 years. Now, the interest rate, that's something that you can find depending on when you're watching this video. All you have to do is go to Bankrate and then type in mortgage rates, and it'll give you the mortgage rate today. So as an example, today the average is 6.93%. That is the average. Now, of course, you could get lower, you could get higher. That's what an average is. So for our purposes today, we're going to actually go with that one as the average. We're going to say that the average mortgage rate is 6.93. Now, there's ways to get this down. That you can buy down interest rates. You can buy down the interest rate either through your funds or offer asking the seller to provide some seller concession to help you cover that mortgage interest rate. So to buy down the interest rate a little bit more, so your monthly mortgage payments are more accessible. We're not going to worry about the zip code because that's already factored in somewhere in the interest rate. We're also not going to worry about the credit score right now because, again, we're assuming that we're getting the average. What we are going to worry about and worry about extensively is the property taxes, because here again, you see what the property taxes the present homeowner is paying on this property. Now that's the present homeowner. That's not you. Yours is going to be different, and you're going to see exactly how much now. Property taxes, if you were to just take this at face value or any calculator out there, they're going to undershoot the property taxes. They just are. So here's the thing. We got to really be dialed in when it comes to property taxes in Euless, because Texas as a whole is one of the highest property tax rates in the country. It's actually number 7, with New Jersey being number 1 and the highest property taxes in the country. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Google again, and we're going to type in Euless, Texas property taxes. So again, Euless, Texas property taxes. You have the exact same tools that I have access to right now. I'm not showing you anything that you don't have access to, so you can replicate this when it's time for you to buy a home in Euless. Now, hopefully, we're going to be able to support you. Our contact information is down below. But in the event that you want to go solo, have at it. All right, so we're going to type in Euless, Texas property taxes, and we're going to go to, hopefully, Euless, the city of Euless, and see if they give us that property tax rate. You're going to find that many of the cities in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex don't give you that. So we're going to have to manually calculate this. So we need to know where the numbers are coming from. In this particular case, they don't. So let's go to City of Euless. Here we go. 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 So Euless does a good job. Not the best job, but it does the job nonetheless. Here's what we got to do. If you see all these numbers, you have a tendency to, like, your eyes glaze over, get intimidated. There's so many numbers here, but let's break this down. It's very simple. So in order for us to get there, let me claim the screen for a quick second. When it comes to property taxes in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, there's up to 5 numbers that you need to look out for to get the true property tax. All right, so there's up to 5 numbers that you're going to add together to get the true property tax rate. Number 1 is going to be the city tax rate. City tax rate, you're going to need to find the county tax rate, the ISD tax rate. These 3 tax rates, city, county, ISD, these 3 tax rates are going to apply in every single city. Every single city is going to have these. Now, there's 2 additional tax rates that are going to come up in many cities. Not all, but in many cities. So again, these 3 are baked into the cake. They're going to happen. These other 2, they're a case-by-case basis. That's why we go directly to the source, especially since we're trying to buy in Euless. The other one is going to be the 2 variable ones, or the 2 ones that often come up, is going to be the higher education tax and the hospital network tax. Higher education, hospital network. So city, county, ISD, higher education, and hospital network. These 5 numbers are the numbers that we're looking for. So let's come back here now that we know what we're looking for. So here we talked about the first one, the city of Euless. We talked about the county right here. We talked about the ISD. So here we have an option. It's either going to be HEB, so Hurst, Euless, Bedford, or GCISD. GCISD, just so you know, is Grapevine, Colleyville ISD. So we're going to go one or the other. We're not going to add these together because we're not going to go to both ISDs. This property is zoned to one of these ISDs. So let's go and find that right now. This property right now is going to HEB ISD. This home that we found just randomly off the internet, as you saw there, is on HEB ISD. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to Euless, the city of Euless, and we're going to assume that we're buying in this particular ISD. So you see, if we go to HEB ISD, our property tax rates are going to be slightly higher, 0.04% higher. Now you may be thinking, well, that's not that much. Well, you're right, it's not that much on a decimal level, on a screen level, but when you're multiplying that times $500,000, it starts adding up every single year. I'm not saying go to HEB or GC or what. I'm not saying go to one of those ISDs. I'm just saying be aware that there are changes or nuances. So the city, the county, the ISD, but also you're going to notice that the higher education and the hospital network, JPS County Hospital, so John Peter Smith High School, College County Hospital. So this plus this plus this plus this and plus one of these 2 numbers is going to give you wherever your home happens to be. In this particular one, we're talking about HEB, so our property tax rate is 1.89%. So we're going to take 0.0189, I think 7 times $400,000. We're going to say that that's what the price of the home is going to end up being. So our market value on the high end, and I'm saying very conservatively, on the high end, it's only going to go lower than this. On the high end, we're paying $75.88 in property taxes per year. So what we're going to do is going to divide that by 12. We're going to be paying $632 on the high end. I'll share with you how this actually goes lower for our calculation. So you see here, it's 2.5 times more than what was shown in this calculator, and that's any calculator that you go into. All the calculators online are going to get these wrong, so you have to come in here and do this manually. I know it's a pain, but once you have this information down, you see how easy it becomes. So we're going to put 632. Now here's the thing, why is this number going to go down? So this number, oh, and by the way, so what was it, 7588? Remember when I said, hey, this property tax rate, don't count on having this? That is what the previous homeowner had. This is why. So whenever you buy the home, it's gonna change in property taxes. The present homeowner probably has the benefit of several different things, which, one, they've been protesting property taxes religiously, so that's why it's a little bit on the lower end. Two, which brings that, once they protest property taxes, it brings the assessed value down, so they're paying less in property taxes. Two, the present homeowner probably has what's called a homestead exemption, which reduces the assessed value, again, what the county appraisal district is taxing against the assessed value, not the market value. The market value is what we bought this property for, which is $400,000. The assessed value is lower. Why? Well, because the homestead exemption was applied, and also the homeowner probably has a homestead exemption that caps how much each year the property values can go up. Does that make sense? So the cap is 10%, by the way. So in the years where the real estate prices just went absolutely vertical in 2000, 2001, 2002, where they just absolutely exploded upward. Well, these properties that had the homestead exemption, they were hitting their cap of 10%, because in 1 year, I believe it was from 2020 to 2021, there were some markets like Prosper that went up 35% in 1 year, which is crazy. Let's continue. Anyway, so this number right here again is probably, most likely, I can guarantee you, it's going to go lower. Why? Well, because when you buy this home, you're going to apply the homestead exemption. You're going to protest property taxes, and just in general, the appraised value is going to be less. So most likely, if I had to ballpark you a guess, it's probably going to be $580 or so per month in property taxes. I'm overshooting it purposely, so you get the benefit of, when you're closing, it's actually less, and you come back to this video and hit that like button saying, hey, it wasn't as bad. Hopefully that's the case. If not, sorry. Homeowners insurance right now for a property of this value or so, give or take in this area, it's gonna be about $180. Now here's the thing, with homeowners insurance, shop it every year. With home insurance, pro tip, get the bundle. Try to get a bundle with whoever is doing your auto policy. Homeowners insurance is I can't curse on live stream because my editor can't beep it out, but it is a bear. Home insurance right now, and let's just be grateful, at least here in Texas, just be grateful that you're not in Florida and you're not in California, where a lot of home insurers or insurers have pulled out because they just can't make money. They're at least writing policies here, and less and less people are going to be putting home insurance. Less and less people are actually going to be having home insurance once they end up paying off the home. So just be on the lookout for that. $180 is reasonable for this type of home. PMI doesn't factor in because we put 20% down. However, PMI in normal circumstances, if we did have to put PMI where we did put 5% down, PMI on this type of loan, on this type of property, and this type of real estate, it's probably gonna be about $150 to $175 per month. That's what the essential tax, the additional mortgage insurance tax that you're going to be paying for. Just to give you a ballpark. And HOA fees, I don't believe this home was in an HOA. We'll double check this. Oh yeah, there it is. So HOA, what is that? 150. That is $300. So $300 divided by $25. So we're going to say $25. Now this number right here, remember, we just put this information just for the normal. We didn't, before we even touched this. So had we just taken them at face value, this is what it would give us. The actual number is $300 more, right? So it's $29.51. Where did the huge difference come from? In property taxes. And here again, I'm giving you the conservative side. So here you're probably going to be paying about $28.60, something like that in your monthly mortgage payment. Why? Because I overshot the property taxes, so you were protected. Let me know if you have any questions down below. I want to address all of them that come up because it's very important. So again, DFW homebuyerclass.com. There's where you're going to find all of this information and then some that really breaks it down in a really clear way, so we all understand. All right, so let's talk about making an offer. We already found that perfect home. We love this home. This is the home that we're going to go with. This is the home that we're going to die in. No, I'm exaggerating now. This is a home that we're going to go with. Let's make an offer. Now, I want to show you exactly what it is that you're most likely going to be filling out. So if you're working with the real estate agent, hopefully it's us on the other side of this transaction. If not, no hard feelings. This is what you're most likely going to be asked to fill out. I'm going to rephrase that. To sign, the realtor is going to sign this, fill this out for you. To be this, what you're most likely going to be asked to sign. Now, I do contracts 24/7. This is my jam. So I'm going to speed through this so you see what the high notes are. I not only do I know. I like to think that I'm pretty well versed in contracts because all the ones that we do, but also I teach this to hundreds of agents throughout the country. So this is what we do. All right, so parties, pretty standard, seller and a buyer. This is where the names go. Property, you have to call out what it is that you're buying. Exclusions, this one for the most part is going to be left blank. However, the reason I want to stop here for a quick second is because if whatever's attached to the property that let's just say you went and saw the home and the chandelier really stood out to you, you absolutely loved it, and all of a sudden you see your contract that says the chandelier is excluded, you're thinking, well, what the heck? Well, if it was attached to the property, it stays, except in the exclusion. So if somebody excludes this out, then that means that it's not staying. So here again, you would assume that the chandelier is going, and you're absolutely right, except if they go in here and say, hey, the chandelier is my grandmother's, we're keeping it, that's excluded, then they rightfully took it out of the sale. But anything else that's affixed to the wall, that's nailed to the wall, that's attached to the wall, will go with the property. So the property, whatever you saw that day when you saw that home, whatever was inspected that day that was inspected, if there's no exclusion listed out here, then it will stay. All right, so sales price, pretty self-explanatory, but here you have how much you plan, or roughly how much cash you plan to bring to the closing table, and the amount that you're purchasing the property for. Now, the cash at closing, that can change. That is, it doesn't have to be exact, but it does have to be pretty approximate because the listing agent will check and make sure. So you can't put, hey, I'm going to put 50% cash, and then all of a sudden you have a change of heart and you're going to only put 3% down. That's going to raise some red flags, and that's going to keep you from getting into contract altogether with a quality real estate agent that's able to catch these red flags. At least I would catch you if you're looking for that. Leases. Leases aren't going to really be as much of a thing unless you're buying a home that is pre-owned already. I'm sorry to rephrase that. That has a tenant occupied in there, or what's becoming more and more common right now are the fixture leases like solar panels. Those are very, very common, or starting to become very common. So you're going to be needing to be on the lookout for that. Earnest and termination options. So there's two key terms that we need to be mindful of. Well, number one is the earnest money. Think of it as a good faith deposit. So in Texas, it's not required, but it is encouraged. It is expected that you're going to put 1% down in earnest. Again, it's a good faith deposit. Is it legally required? No, it is not. But if you want to show intentionality, if you want to show offer strength, if you want to show like, hey, I want this home, then you better, or let me phrase that, I shouldn't say, I don't want to coach you into that. It's commonly expected to put 1% down in earnest money. Now that earnest money, assuming that you go out to the way to the closing table, gets credited to you at closing. Now that's assuming you get to the closing table. If you don't get to the closing table and you get out of that contract in a compliant way, again, in a compliant way without breaking contract, then you also get that earnest money back. So there's two ways that you get credit for that is one, you buy the home out together, or you get out of the contract in a compliant way. The way that you lose your earnest is if you break the contract in a non-compliant way. That is you losing the money. Now, the option fee. That option fee is a little bit different. The option fee is a fee. That's not a deposit. It's not a good faith amount. It's essentially you're paying for a certain amount of days for you to put your inspector in there. So here it's common to put, let's say, $100 to $200 for 5 to 7 days of option. So here within those 5 to 7 days, you can get out of that contract for any and all reasons. Doesn't matter. You can get out of that contract. Now, what's commonly done in those 5 to 7 days is an inspector will go in, give you a full detail of the property, and if there's something materially different, there's something that is different than what you expected the condition of the property to be, then you have the opportunity to re-underwrite the deal, meaning that you have the opportunity to negotiate on those items. So here's the deal. On those items, it doesn't mean, hey, because of this, I want $50,000 off now. It's not going to happen unless there's $50,000 worth of work somewhere. But for the most part, you're going to be negotiating on hazardous items. You're going to be negotiating on things that would affect your ability to finance and follow through the purchase. Title policy. Title policy is essentially an assurance that whatever you're purchasing is going to indeed be yours at the end of the day. So as an example, if a cousin comes out of the woodworks and says, hey, this property that you bought 2 years ago should not have been sold. It was actually my property. My cousin was a little backstabber and sold this property from underneath me, had no right to do it. Well, if that cousin comes out of the woodwork and does that on you, well, the title policy is going to indemnify you from such claims. That's what you're paying for in the title policy. And just like anything in real estate, it is negotiable. The seller can pick it up or the buyer can pick it up. In standard markets, let me back up. Whoever has the most leverage in the particular deal is going to be the one that can dictate the terms on who's paying for it. But it is I don't want to say standard. It is common in a normal market that the seller picks this up. It is common. Again, everything is negotiable here, so I'm not telling you how to write the actual offer. Every property is different, so we go into, whenever we write offers as an example, we look at last time I counted about 32 different things that will help us craft the picture, craft that perfect offer, and really get that offer presented over to the client. That's why we put on average 1.8 offers. It takes us about 1.8 offers to get somebody into a home in a competitive market. So we write competitive offers without overspending. That's one of the big differences between us and other real estate agents. Survey is essentially a piece of paper that lets you know what it is that you're purchasing. So it'll let you know where the boundary lines are, if there's easement. So essentially, if there's a utility easement through your property, you want to know that. It lets you know where your property line is, so you can put the fence in the appropriate spot. And again, making it very clear of what it is that you're purchasing. If you're in an HOA, you're going to call that out. Property condition, you're taking it as is. And sales disclosure. Let's talk about that. Yeah, under Texas Property Code, you legally have to get a, let me rephrase that. With the Texas Property Code, a seller has to furnish you a seller's disclosure, letting you know what they know or don't know about the property, letting you know what it might have or doesn't have, what the condition is or what it isn't, what works well and what doesn't work well. It is under Texas Property Code that they owe this to you, and this is essentially what you're attesting to: either received it or I expect to receive it. Now, let's talk about residential service contracts. It's common for sellers to give you a credit to purchase a home warranty, which is what a residential service contract is, and that's where it would go to. The more important thing out of this entire contract, outside of the price and everything that we just discussed, is the closing date. On average, you're going to close a transaction within 25 days once you get into contract. So once you get into contract, you're going to go into a 4-week sequence that we're going to break down here shortly. But for the most part, on average, you're going to be closing on your home in about 25 days. And we break it down pretty easily. Let me make sure I don't miss anything here that I want to. Okay. We break it down pretty easily whenever our clients are working with us. So we actually have a checklist on the back end. That's what you'll get on the dfwhomebuyerclass.com. Or if you're working with us, or if you've worked with us, please let me know in the comment section down below if you're here and how helpful this checklist was. But we break it down into 4 weeks. The checklist that we have is week one, we're going to go into inspection. So here's where we get our inspector in there, get the condition. If there's some additional second opinion that we need from a technician, a plumber, electrician, roofer, foundation expert, whomever, we bring them in and really make it clear, or really have a better sense of what the condition is of the home that we're trying to buy. So we're coming in with our eyes wide open. That's generally what happens in week 1. Week 2, assuming that everything went well in the inspections and we agreed to either some repairs or agreed that there wasn't going to be any repairs, into week 2, that's when we really start working hard. We start working with the lender, start working with the title company very closely so we can get approved for the loan and also get the title policy issued on time. But more importantly with the lender, because the title policy goes pretty quickly. Appraisal gets ordered. So this is very, very important because this sets off a chain of events that can affect you. If you mismanage it, it can affect you quite negatively. What am I doing? How am I zooming in? That can affect you quite negatively. So let's talk about that. So in week 2, again, you're working with your lender, you're working with the title, and then you're ordering the appraisal. So the lender, along with yourself, are buying this property, right? So you are buying this home, and the lender, let's say you're doing 5% down, the lender is committing to what? 95%. So they're going to put 95% of the deal. You're going to put 5. Well, the lender needs to feel comfortable with their investment alongside you. Simply because you offer $500,000 or $400,000 on this property doesn't mean that the property is worth $400,000. It could be radically overpriced, and a real estate agent just put whatever it is that was gonna, whatever the seller's asking for, which we don't do that, by the way, whatever the seller's asking for, and then boom, you find out that the property is actually only worth $380,000. So what I like to tell our agents is anybody can put list price on a paper. Any agent can do that. But it takes a true real estate professional to get below that. It takes a true real estate professional to know what the market is doing and put our clients under contract. So when this appraisal gets ordered, more specifically, when this appraisal comes back, there's not going to be an issue. So here's what that means. So on week 3, we're talking about conditions week. So week 3 is usually, at this point, you've provided everything that you've needed to your lender, and the lender has everything that they need, that they requested, whether it's bank statements, W-2s, taxes, all that fun stuff, and they send it over to get verified. They send it to their underwriter to make sure that it's everything is good to go. Well, that underwriter is then going to come back and say, hey, these are the conditions of getting approved. So they need this, this, and this, and this. So essentially, it's additional documentation or clarity on what it is that you furnish them. Now, it could be as simple as you just writing a piece of paper saying, hey, these other properties that I own don't have an HOA, and then signing, attesting to that, which is something that I get all the time on 2 of my properties. I just have to write that letter. I just know that that's going to come up, so I actually get ahead of that and provide that letter ahead of time. But anyway, conditions just come in all shapes and sizes. Some of them are going to be valid. Some of them are going to be dumb. Many of them are going to be dumb. Let's just be clear. But if we want that loan, we're gonna do it. Appraisal received. So here's the important part right here, right? So let's go back to that example. This home that we're trying to buy in Euless, it's $399,000. We offered $400,000. Again, any agent can put anything on paper and get it accepted. That's not the deal. Once this appraiser goes out there, so again, that usually gets ordered week 2, and that appraisal comes back in week 3, there's a true up here. There's a true up that happens. There's 1 of 4 things that can happen with this appraisal. You're under contract for $400,000. You're over the moon. You've told your family you're ready to go. You want to move in. It's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be a homeowner in Euless. You're going to be part of HEB, right? You can tell everybody that you live in HEB, and people can say, "Oh, the grocery store." You can say, "No. Hurst, Euless, Bedford." It's kind of a thing. That's gonna be you. However, once this appraisal comes back, if you're in a contract for what do I do with my hands? If you're in a contract for $400,000 and that appraisal comes back at 380, there's only 4 things that can happen, and only 4. So let's knock them out real quick. $400,000 you're in a contract. 380 is what the appraisal. So the lender comes back and says, "Hey, this appraisal comes back, and they're saying it's only $380,000." One of the things that can happen is you, as a buyer, can come up with the difference. That $20,000 gap, you can go to the bank and add an additional $20,000 to the deal. Some of us might have that in underneath your sofa cushions. Some of you might need to work a few more extra hours for that. Not gonna judge, but those $20,000, they're coming from somewhere. So either you're bringing them to the table to true it up, or so that's option number 1. You bring the rest, or 2. Option number 2 is the seller says, "All right, well, I know we're under contract and I want to sell this property. So if the property is only worth 380, I'm gonna reduce. We're gonna reduce it to 380." Right? So you're under contract for 4, and now the appraisal is coming back at 380. So you come back to the 380 for what the lender or what the appraisal is coming back at and what the lender is willing to lend for. That's option 2. The seller comes down to your number. 3, which is what happens a lot, is y'all meet somewhere in the middle. You can come up 5 and they can come down 15. You can come up 10. They can come down 10. Whoever has the most leverage is ultimately going to get the better part of this deal right here. It's just gonna depend. So here again, you're coming to somewhere in the middle. That's number 3. Number 4, you can't get financing. The deal goes away. You get out of contract. You get your earnest money back, and life goes on. I have to put a big asterisk there. That's if you have the right clauses in place. That's why it's very important that you're working with a real estate agent that has done this, that is doing this actively, and that doesn't do this once a year or no times a year. So it's very, 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 very important, especially for those, because if you're working with somebody that, even experienced agents do this, and let me not just pick on new agents, because I was a baby agent in 2017. So even experienced agents run into this, right? So putting something on, any real estate agent can put anything on a piece of paper and get that accepted. That's very easy. You just copy and paste it. Basically, you could use what I just showed you here, and you can get something accepted. However, this appraisal thing becomes an issue if you don't know how to manage it. And if you're not protected, your earnest money is at stake. You can get sued for performance, which essentially means you're going to buy this house, or you get sued for damages. So there's some impact here on not working with the right real estate agent. So that's the last I'll say about that. Conditions week, again, here's where most likely you're going to be asked to have your homeowner's insurance already quoted, ready to go, because the lender will not lend until that home insurance policy is in place. Week number 4, you're focusing on moving in. So week number 4 is move-in week. You're scheduling the closing. You're having your utilities activated. You have to have your closing disclosure sent to you by the lender 3 business days before closing. And I mean, you have to. By law, if you don't get it by at least 3 days before closing, that closing is not going to happen on time. So just be very, very mindful. Be so proactive in getting documents. On average, from our lender partners, we usually get that closing disclosure like 8-9 days ahead of time. So it's never an issue for us, because we coach our clients the right way. We coach our clients, hey, this is what we're doing week 1. Boom, 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 boom. Our ISAs are on it. Our agents are on it. Here's what we have for approval. Have you turned this in? How can we support you? How can we better equip you? Week 3, we're sending out reminders. We're sending out all these notifications. We're sending calendar invites, and we're keeping everything going to where this becomes more of a formality. It becomes way more enjoyable when you're buying. And you're scheduling the final walkthrough a day or the day before or the morning of the closing, and then you're wiring the funds and bringing the cashier's check to title so you can close, because at closing, once both parties have signed and everything has been verified, that's when the loan funds. So as the loan funds, that's when you get access to the keys. That's when you become a homeowner. You're officially a homeowner of Euless, Texas. Pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. Now, it would be cool to just drop the mic there, but I can't do that because we have to talk about after closing. After closing matters as well. I would argue even more because now you're the homeowner. Now you're talking about setting yourself up for success. So on the first week, this is really what you're going to want to start focusing on. Doing some deep cleaning, changing locks, doing unpacking essentials, all that fun stuff. Week 1, we have a list, and this is something that goes out to our clients, and it continues to go out to our clients on the day after closing, the week after closing, the month after closing, yearly. Our clients know that we're around. Within the first 30 days, this is what you should be doing. Again, it's just a checklist. And this is something that our clients are so appreciative of because oftentimes there's no handbook here. Like, you're a homeowner, now what? Well, let's just figure it out. No, it's the exact same checklist that I personally use with my properties, the exact same checklist that our clients use. So you get access to this. So just go to dfwhomebuyerclass.com and you're going to get access to all this information and then some. But with that being said, that is the end of this video. I appreciate you so much. If you're thinking about buying in the great city of Euless, check out our information down below. We would love to support you in any way that we can. Outside of that, stay tuned for the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye.